Something tells me my life is about to change, like I'm never going back. And I feel as if nothing will be the same, as if everything goes black. Call me out if it seems like I'm paranoid. Well, it extends beyond the eye. There's so much fear inside. What are the odds that I would find myself where I began? How high is the chance of running round in circles now and then? Maybe it's all in my mind, but it's about time I read the signs. Oh, it's about time. It's about time. What if all that I do is insignificant? What if nothing matters now? I would take back the time wasted if I could, but I don't even know how. All my worries have led me to emptiness, but at least I've been around. At least it's over now. That I would find myself where I began. How high is the chance of running round in circles now and then? Maybe it's all in my mind, but it's about time I read the signs. Oh, it's about time. It's about time.
Hello everybody, this is Winchester 572, and welcome to yet another Winchester Wednesdays. We are back with yet another wonderful reading stream, and a whole bunch of other excitement. I did survive the trip to Oklahoma, just barely. The rain did try to destroy us, and the car tried to fall apart, but yes. So anyways, without further ado, let me introduce you to the Cole. Hello, Cole.
Hi.
Hello.
Can I say that I did no such thing?
Nope. You did it all. You did everything.
All right. Well, next time I try to kill you, I'm gonna be more successful. I guarantee it.
I'm ready.
Got a lot of good. Your shotgun's gonna do against poison.
Not if I kill myself first.
That's a fair point, actually. Yeah, that's just taking shit into your own hands. Wait, can we swear? I forget.
This is an EOH. Yeah, we could do some light swearing, but anyways.
Are you sure this is not EOH?
I'm fairly certain.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Elements of Harmony. Tonight on the show, we have Sora coming to you after years and years of making her art better and faster and stronger. She's not even here, is she?
I
should
did
be.
what now?
Apparently became Daft Punk.
Here.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
And this is Inspiration.
What's that?
Oh, that's a good thing.
I was just like, I do actually have the intro.
Send me that shit. I'll read it.
What?
The intro.
Oh, no, I was meaning the intro opening credits.
Oh. Oh!
For EOH.
Right. That'd be a blast from the past, man. Hopefully it's the first season one. Anyway, sorry, I'll stop derailing your show.
I have both, but yeah. Oh, anyways. Sorry, Commander. Anyways, yes, introduction. So starting off, we have my lovely co-host, Crazy Matt Captain.
I seem to have a cat. And no point to being here today because I'm not needed in reading, apparently. So I'll just read at you with my mind.
He's here for moral support and to be a chat watcher.
Immoral support. Got it. Let's
Hey,
start
what-
burning down everything.
We have one for your character. You could play every pony.
Totally. You better join in when it says every pony. So, yes. And next up, we have our wonderful stream secretary, Razzle.
Hello.
And next up, we have our wonderful Rainbow Dash, Sora.
Hi there.
That is the most timid Rainbow Dash I've ever heard. And somebody who's definitely not so timid, coming back from the grave, we have Forrest Drain as our narrator.
Took a shower today for about 3 hours.
Ooh, that sounds wonderful.
I wish my hot water would last that long. It doesn't even last 5 minutes.
Wait.
One
Is
benefit. Go ahead.
Is a shower that lasts 3 hours the way to raise someone from the dead?
I don't know. Good question.
I mean,
I've
I
tried to
How do you shower for 3 hours? That's actually interesting.
I live in an apartment and I watch YouTube. And I have a window ledge. I have like this frosted window in my bathroom in the shower. So I can just stick the phone on the windowsill and just watch YouTube.
Ah.
Oh, that window that like never quite closes the entire way that you want it to close.
Why doesn't it?
Oh wait, no. You just always have it in like the secondary latch setting, don't you?
Yeah, I just have it like the slightly cracked setting where you can't open it or close it any further. It's to confuse people who don't know how to undo the latch.
Noted. So
Apparently I've
yes,
succeeded.
I also wish to give a shout out to our wonderful fanfic editor, Double R Forest. He is not in the call with us tonight because
May he rest in peace.
yes, I'm going to his funeral this weekend. Not really. He is alive and well. I think he wished us good luck. I just yeah. So I wanted to shout him out since he put in the work to edit all this. So yeah.
We always knew this show would one day kill him.
I mean, this network does kill the shows, and the shows don't kill the network.
I thought that was Canterlot Hill.
No, remember the Brony Show killed EOH.
Right. I do remember. Anyway, I'm derailing your show again. Please go on.
You're so good at derailing my show. In fact, you're so good at derailing my show. How about I just hand the entire thing off to you?
And tonight on the show, we have Crazy Matt Captain, Razzle Dazzle, Sora, and Winchester 572. All of us are playing different roles in this story called It's a Dangerous Business Going Out Your Door by Jetfire 2012. Tonight, I will be your narrator. I am Forrest Rain. You may or may not recognize my voice. Applejack will be played by Winchester, whose voice is unmistakable. Rainbow Dash will be played by Sora, whose voice is unmistakable. And Rarity will be played by Razzle, whose voice is unmistakable. Yeah. All right, let's get started. This is Chapter 6. Applejack woke first, just as the pale light of dawn began to peek through the trees. She was always used to rising at sunup, and did so even without her trusty alarm clock. Yawning, the orange earth pony tossed off her blanket, rose to her feet, and gave herself an enlivening shake. She reached down and took up her brown cow colt's hat in her mouth, with a toss of her head flipping the hat up between her ears.
Pappy, what would you think of your little AJ now, all grown up and on an adventure?
She stalked gently over to Rainbow Dash and nudged her behind her ears.
Wake up, Rainbow. It's time for breakfast and then to get a move on.
Dash mumbled and turned over in her sleep. She was still wrapped in the blanket.
Rainbow Dash! Wake up!
There was still no response.
Rainbow!
Huh? What?
The Pegasus gurgled as she finally regained consciousness. She sat up with the blanket still wrapped around her, making her look like a worm. She tried moving, but gained no ground with the blanket around her. This caused her to panic.
I'm trapped!
Yes, Your Majesty?
Rarity stirred from a dream. She raised her sleeping mask off her eyes with a hoof. She frowned.
Oh, drat, it's morning, isn't it? And I was having such a lovely dream.
Oh, Celestia, I can't move my wings. I'm in a horrible...
Rainbow, would you cut it out?
Dash finally realized she was not ensnared by some horrible beast.
Morning, every pony.
She wriggled out of the blanket and stretched her wings back, and then stretched her body forward, lowering herself until her chest nearly touched the ground. Her back cracked a few times. She cracked her head from side to side as well.
Who's up for breakfast?
We gotta make it quick. At least it stopped raining. Y'all help me break camp. Then we go nab some grass.
Ew, the grass is going to be soggy. Can't we just have some more apples?
I didn't pack 2 saddlebags full of apples. I only got so many with me. And we used a fair number of them yesterday. We gotta conserve them for the few times we can't get nothing else. Like tonight, when we're in the mountains.
You know, Rares, my offer to get you some leaves still stands.
Rarity kicked off her blanket in annoyance and sighed.
Well, fine. It can't be any worse than soggy, smushy grass.
Applejack folded her blanket tightly and began to stuff it into a saddlebag.
Pluck me off a branch or two, will you, Rainbow? I've never tried leaves before.
All right, 1 treetop breakfast coming up.
The blue Pegasus shot out of the tent in a rainbow blur. Rarity used her magic to compress her pillow, shoving it back into one of her saddlebags.
That pony had best not be pulling our legs. If I have to gargle a pulpy green mess before breakfast, I'd rather just go hungry.
She's awful enthusiastic about them leaves. I reckon she thinks they're pretty tasty.
Yes, dear Applejack, but Rainbow Dash is not always the best judge of others' tastes. Do you remember the time she tried to convince us to go cliff diving?
Shucks, I thought that was kind of fun. You just chickened out because you were afraid of heights.
1 plummet from the sky to my impending doom per lifetime is enough, thank you very much.
Dash abruptly soared back into the tent, with 2 tree branches full of green leaves tucked under each front leg, and a third carried in her mouth, which she spitted out promptly.
Ladies, breakfast is served.
She dropped the 2 branches under her legs, gripped the third between her front hooves, and began to rip leaves off it with her teeth, chewing noisily and making satisfied sounds. Applejack pinned 1 branch in place with her hooves, then bent down and nibbled off a leaf. She chewed it thoughtfully, considering the taste as it hit her tongue.
Tart. Little like a Granny Smith apple.
Rarity was busy nipping a leaf apart into small chunks.
It's not quite as bad as I thought it would be.
That's the spirit.
Dash shoved her mouth into the remaining branch and took an enormous bite of leaves. The bright green sprouts of spring looked like a beard around her snout as she slowly chewed them down.
They're all so fresh, especially in the spring. Nobody's been walking all over them.
Well, I suppose there is that.
At Applejack's instance, they ate quickly, each of them finishing their branches in swift succession, notwithstanding Rarity's usual daintiness. What followed was last night in reverse. Rarity used her magic to remove the rock weights around the tarp. Rainbow Dash carried it back over the branch. Then all three ponies worked together to fold the large oilcloth into a shape compact enough to fit into Applejack's saddlebag. By the time the sky was orange with the risen sun, they were packed up, and they set out from amidst the trees, quickly reaching the same brisk pace they'd kept for much of the previous day. Soon, the gentle slope they'd begun to encounter yesterday grew markedly steeper, and the broad-branched oaks and elms and ashes gave way to prickly pines. The path began to grow rocky, and Rarity almost lost her footing on one particularly large rock in their path.
Can't we slow down a bit? We don't want to fall off the mountain.
When we get in danger of that, yeah, we'll slow down, but not before.
You're not even running.
The Drakenridge Mountains climbed higher and higher, the path growing steeper and steeper as the morning wore on. By the time noon arrived, they were almost above the tree line, and a slight chill had begun to pervade the air. Rarity shivered.
It's getting cold.
It has started to get a mite bit chilly.
Applejack and Rarity slowed to a trot. Dash, having shot past them, banked hard and spun around, putting her hooves on her hips.
You girls are wimps. It's not cold at all.
You wouldn't know, would you? Because I don't get cold, remember?
Well, we can tell when it's cold, even if we don't feel it. And it's not that cold. Not really.
Maybe not, but it's going to get colder higher up we go. I'd rather stop now and bundle up than do it when the snow's coming down on us. Besides, it's time for lunch.
Dash fluttered to the ground.
Well, if it's lunchtime...
Rarity used her magic to lift 2 sweaters out of her saddlebags. From the right bag, she produced her hot pink cashmere sweater, while from the left, she lifted a sweater of alpaca wool, the color of oatmeal. The alpaca sweater was slightly heavier. She levitated it towards her earth pony comrade.
Applejack, darling, you should wear this one. It's heavy enough to give you some warmth under that vest you brought.
Applejack tugged a black vest of quilted wool out of her saddlebag.
Woo-wee! This baby's seen me through plenty of winters by itself.
Darling, there's going to be snow.
I've been out in blizzards with nothing but this here vest and my hat.
Applejack, please. I feel simply awful if I'm warm and you're shivering away up front. I know how much you love playing the martyr.
The what?
But be practical this time, please.
The last word was accompanied by a flutter of the unicorn's long eyelashes. She leaned forward, her beautiful blue eyes wavering with intensity. Applejack rolled her green eyes at Rarity's display, but even she wasn't completely immune to the unicorn's charms. Finally, the orange earth pony sighed.
Oh, all right.
She reached up with her hooves and grabbed the floating sweater.
But don't be mad if I break a sweat in this heavy thing.
Not to worry, darling. I can always wash it when we get back to Ponyville.
Okay, you played dress up long enough. Can we talk about that lunch you were mentioning?
Applejack pulled the neck of the sweater over her head.
Sure thing. Just give me a second to get this sucker on.
She wriggled her front legs through the leg holes, noting that the sweater was quite soft on the inside despite its rugged outer weave. The chill in the air around her was greatly dispelled. Flipping her hat onto her head, the earth pony finally tugged her long blonde mane out of the neck so that it was free.
There we go. We may have to hold off dinner this evening if we want to conserve all our apple supply.
Rarity pushed her pink sweater down more securely against her flanks. Then she gently extricated her curled violet mane from the sweater's neck.
I actually brought some granola bars. They're not much, but they'll give us something to put in our stomachs. I'd rather not go to bed hungry if I can help it.
Twilight's book said there was plenty of grass in Gildedale. Once we're over the mountains, we should be able to eat off the land. If we're lucky, there'll be fruit or some such produce we can store for the return trip.
Rainbow Dash blinked her rose-colored eyes and grimaced.
Oh, pony feathers. I forgot we have to make a round trip. Ugh, this is gonna take forever.
Rarity's expression indicated that she had forgotten this as well.
Well, perhaps we'll meet a friendly eagle or hippogriff who will give us a lift back home.
Too bad some pony doesn't know how to teleport.
Rarity's eyes filled with pain. She flinched away like she'd been struck.
Rainbow!
The sky-blue Pegasus quickly realized her mistake.
Oh my gosh, Rarity, I'm so sorry. I forgot.
No, it's quite all right, Rainbow.
Her body language made it plain that this was a lie.
I suppose it would be more convenient if I knew how to teleport. Perhaps I really should learn someday.
Now, don't you get your tail in a twist, Rarity. You don't need to learn how to teleport if you don't want to. You're plenty useful on this trip without knowing how, ain't she, Rainbow?
The earth pony finished with a glare at Dash.
Oh, well, yeah, of course. I mean, you still have your other magic, and that's something AJ and I can't do.
Smiling fiercely, she threw a front leg around the white unicorn.
I don't think there's a better possible group that I could have gone on this trip. We've got Applejack, a tough, dependable earth pony. We've got you, a magical and creative unicorn. And we got me, the fastest, fiercest Pegasus in all of Equestria.
Rarity chuckled, leaning into Rainbow Dash.
Perhaps you're right, Rainbow. I just hope I can be as useful as you say. I know you and Applejack are the first ponies I would choose to go on an adventure with.
I reckon we'll all be useful to each other before this trip is done. Now, let's eat.
They lunched on 2 apples each and chatted happily, enjoying each other's company and all feeling much better about their prospects for the rest of the trip. When they had finished, the 2 running ponies took up their saddlebags again, and the 3 of them continued their climb into the mountains. It was now light gray with cloud cover, and a cool wind had begun to blow. Higher and higher they climbed. They now had no choice but to slow down, as the path was becoming steep and jagged, filled with rocks. The wind howled around them, whipping through the crevices and cracks of the towering peaks every which way. Suddenly, Applejack stopped.
Whoa!
What's wrong, darling?
Applejack said nothing. Sitting down, she took off her hat from her head with her front hooves. Turning it over, she tugged around the interior for a moment and pulled out a drawstring attached to the inside of the hat. Flipping the hat back on her head, she used both hooves to tighten the drawstrings as it came under her neck until it was pulled tight and the cowcolt's hat was snugly secured. Rainbow Dash put her hooves on her cheeks and dragged them down her face slowly.
Can we go now?
Yep, we can go.
And they began to climb again. Rounding one sharp bend where the wind blew fiercely, the earth pony was quite happy that her hat was tied in place. About an hour further up the mountains, it started to snow. Small, scattered flakes at first, then gradually heavier, until thick flurries were swirling on the wind around them. Again, Applejack motioned for them to halt.
I reckon it's time to bundle up a bit more.
She slid her saddlebags off. Reaching into her left bag, she pulled out her black quilted vest.
Yes, I do believe you're right.
The white unicorn was shivering. Sliding off her saddlebags, she used her magic to open the right bag and pull out her dark gray coat. It was lined with white lamb's wool and was exceptionally warm.
Rainbow, you sure you're not cold?
I'm fine. I told you before, Pegasus ponies don't get cold.
Must be nice.
Applejack snapped together the last of the snaps on her vest. She pulled out an orange scarf from her right bag and wrapped it snugly around her neck. Rarity used magic to zip up her own coat.
Oh, heavens no. Think of all the wonderful accessorizing and layering we would miss out on.
This earned her an eye roll from the orange earth pony. Both ponies repositioned their saddlebags, and with an impatient Rainbow Dash flying alongside them, they continued their push into the increasingly driving snow. By the time evening arrived, the path was winding steeply through mountain peaks that rose sheer all around them. They were trudging through a full-blown blizzard, the snow so dense in the air that they could barely see the way ahead of them. Dash had actually come down from the sky. The wind was blowing so fast. She dragged her legs through the hoof-thick snow in between Applejack and Rarity, her rainbow-striped mane and tail whipping wildly in the wind. They were scrambling up a particularly steep rise, trying to keep their footing in the snow and tumbling rocks. Stretching out one step, Applejack was surprised to put her hoof on level ground.
Hey, it levels out up here.
She put the other foot up on the ledge and held herself up, rolling onto her side as she finally reached the top. Turning back around, she offered her front hooves to Rainbow Dash.
I wish I had some rope now, no lie.
Regardless, Applejack was a strong pony, and Dash was light as all Pegasi tended to be, so she easily pulled up her friend onto the level space. She did the same for Rarity, though the unicorn's heavy saddlebags meant she needed to expend more effort. Once she was on level ground again, Rarity surveyed her surroundings. They seemed to be very high in the mountains indeed. Shorter mountain peaks spread away beneath them, and deep valleys between the peaks were filled with snowdrifts.
Could we be at the highest point in the path?
It's sure possible.
Applejack joined Rarity in looking out below them. The snow rose a good ways up their legs.
Girls, look at this!
The two ponies turned around, their eyes widened. There was a large, round opening set into the mountainside, far back into the ledge. It was no mere cave, either. The opening was a neat, smooth circle, rimmed by an outline of stone into which symbols were carved.
Anybody know what these say?
I sure ain't seen nothing like that before.
Twilight's the scholar, not me. Certainly not modern equestrian.
The sky blue Pegasus began to creep forward, breathing out fog into the frigid mountain air.
Rainbow, you don't know what's in there.
I just want to look. Maybe we could stay here for tonight.
Rarity exchanged a glance with Applejack.
Well, I suppose it couldn't hurt to take a peek, right?
She trudged through the snow towards Dash. As Rainbow Dash drew closer to the mouth of the cave, she began to hear something. It was very faint, almost imperceptible at first, a gentle lilt coming from deep within the blackness. With each step she took, she could hear more clearly. The language was not one she could understand, but she knew instinctively that it was the spoken form of the glyphs written around the cave mouth. It crooned at her like a lullaby, but jauntier and more energetic. It beckoned her into wonderment. The Pegasus was deeply charmed.
That music.
She began to walk slowly forward.
Music?
The unicorn, several paces behind her, paused and pricked up her ears, and found she could hear it too. It was a haunting, mournful tune, sung by the most beautiful voice Rarity had ever heard, even more beautiful than Fluttershy's. It compelled her to wrap herself in its elegance.
Oh, my.
She began to walk forward as well. Applejack, behind both of them, jerked back her head.
What are y'all doing?
Can't you hear it?
The music.
Both ponies' eyes had grown wide and glazed. Applejack stomped her hoof. She leaned her head forward and craned her ears.
Nope. I don't hear no music. And I think y'all are just pulling my leg, to be honest. So cut it out and let's get going. I don't like the looks of this cave.
Rainbow Dash and Rarity did not seem to be paying attention to her. They both continued their slow, deliberate walk deeper into the cave. Applejack was highly annoyed.
Would y'all mind coming back here? Maybe getting on with... Are y'all even listening?
The orange earth pony galloped up behind the unicorn and the Pegasus.
Hey! We gotta get going.
She stomped her hoof impatiently on the ground. Unseen by any of them, her cutie mark flashed. Suddenly, the orange earth pony did hear something. Something terrifying. She supposed it could be called singing, but the loud, rumbling roar was so dense and throaty she could barely tell words were being spoken. It echoed from deep within the cave, harsh and threatening.
Rarity, Rainbow, don't go in there.
Applejack galloped forward and grabbed both ponies' tails in her mouth. She planted her hooves and gave them a tug, trying to drag them backwards. Both ponies glared at her, their empty eyes flickering with expressions of malice. Rainbow Dash flapped into the air and jerked away, while Rarity used her magic to pry Applejack's mouth open. Both ponies resumed their forward progress, their pace picking up to a trot. Panicking, Applejack did what she always did in desperate situations. Thought about how she would handle things if she were on the farm. Galloping past her two friends, she skidded to a stop next to the wall of the cave, reared up on her front legs, and bucked with all her might. Her back hooves slammed into the rock, sending a long, forking crack racing up the wall and across the ceiling. Dust and crags immediately began to tumble down, stalactites cracking off and falling like stone daggers to the floor below. A small rock hit Rarity on the head, snapping her back to her senses and drawing her attention to the collapsing ceiling.
What? Oh my!
Dash was still entranced by the singing, which she could hear even over the growing din.
Come on!
Applejack cut across in front of Dash and ducked down, then rose up, putting the sky blue Pegasus across her back. Galloping with all her might, Rarity close behind her, Applejack dodged and woved around falling rock as she pressed desperately towards the entrance to the cave. Finally, gasping for breath, the three of them emerged into the driving snow of the mountains, and not a moment too soon, for the cave completely fell apart in their wake, ceiling and walls alike tumbling down into a pile of rubble that completely filled the mouth of the cave and spilled out of it onto the rocky ledge. Rainbow Dash pupils had finally shrunk back to their normal size.
Huh? What happened?
All I recall is hearing some very beautiful singing. Applejack, darling, did you?
A long, roaring howl rose up from within the crumbled cave. It came from deep in the chest of something unseen and strange, full of rage and annoyance, potent enough to cut through dozens of feet of piled rock, and who knew how much more empty space deep within the cave. The roar gave way to snarling and gnashing, and the three ponies swore they could feel the ground beneath them thud with the faint pounding.
Jeez, that was singing?
It sure was. Y'all seemed to hear it pretty like, but for me it was just as ugly then as it is now.
Oh, perhaps it was some sort of magic, a bewitching song to lure travelers to their doom. Oh, I do wish Twilight was here. She knows this stuff far better than I do.
So, why didn't you get bewitched, AJ? Maybe you're just too stubborn?
Not a clue, and I don't see any point of pondering this any further. Right now, I'd much like to get away from this place in a hurry.
The howling was picking up again. Rarity shuddered.
I think you're right, Applejack.
She gave Applejack a big smile.
And thank you for saving me. Us. Rainbow Dash and I would have been goners if you hadn't been there.
Oh, yeah, thanks a ton, Applejack.
She flapped her wings and was airborne again. The blizzard had died down some at their present altitude, and the winds were not as fierce.
Now let's get going.
They moved on as quickly as their legs would carry them. As Rarity had guessed, they did appear to have reached the highest point in the trail, at least for the time being, and now it was all downhill. The path soon led them into a winding, narrow valley. Almost a crevice between steep cliffs jutted up on either side, As they descended from the summit into the vale, the blizzard began to pick up again, once more forcing Rainbow Dash to the ground. As the Pegasus looked around, she noticed that the snow was driving incredibly thick. It cut across and around them in sheets of pure white, billowing Applejack's scarf and Rarity's coat. Dash still wasn't cold, but the wind was now cutting at her skin like a knife. She had to blink furiously to keep the snow out of her eyes. It was also growing darker, and not just from the snow. Night was coming on fast. The path seemed to suddenly open up, the crevice giving way to an open plain. Now there was snow everywhere. It had room to swirl and gather, and was no less fierce for the wider space in which it moved. Dash scanned her surroundings, up, down, side to side. Everything had become a field of flickering white, with no visibility beyond a few feet. She was trapped. She was closed up in a box of snow. There was no way out.
Girls?
She shouted to be heard above the roar of the wind.
Did y'all say something?
Dash began to breathe faster, slowing her pace until she finally stopped walking entirely.
I'm trapped. I can't see the sky.
Rarity bumped into the sky blue Pegasus's rump.
What's wrong, Rainbow Dash?
I can't see the sky.
Dash began to tremble, fidgeting furiously, lifting each leg one after the other, fluttering her wings fruitlessly in the gale-force winds.
Speak up.
I can't see the sky.
Sky, 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 sky. The last screamed word finally cut down through the interference of wind and echoed deeply against the surrounding mountainsides. Dash was breathing hard, shivering now. Applejack looked her up and down.
Well, of course you can't see the sky. You can't even see the mountainside, even though it's right there.
A rumble began to fill her ears. Faint initially, it quickly grew louder. The world around Applejack began to shudder, and she looked frantically about, searching for the source of the disturbance. Rarity spun around, likewise seeking the noise's source. Rainbow Dash was still frozen in place. It was only belatedly that Applejack realized the rumbling noise was coming from overhead. She looked up just in time to see a wall of white block out what remained of the daylight.
Oh, horse apple.
Boom! White. Cold. Cold white. Everywhere and anywhere, all around them, rolling and thundering and piling. The avalanche quickly buried them. Snow piling on thicker and thicker. The rumbling continued for a few minutes, thundering in the darkness around and above them as more snow fell down. A few seconds later, there was silence. Applejack sputtered, poking her head up from the snow and staring around at the blackness. The snow was packed so tightly around her that no light filtered in from above. However, she seemed to have raised her head up in a hollow in the snow. Reaching down through the freezing white powder to her saddlebags, she flipped one open and dug through it until she found her flashlight. She pulled it out and used her tongue to flick it on, illuminating a miniature blue-white cave of snow, only about a head taller than her hat. There was shifting in the snow next to her, and Rarity's head popped up. A few feet away, Rainbow Dash emerged as well. Rarity blinked twice.
Ah!
Ah!
Dash spasmed and twisted through the snow around her.
We're trapped. We're trapped. Oh, Celestia, I can't see. I can't move.
We're doomed, and we're going to die frozen in this horrid abyss.
Hey, y'all. I think if we just calm down.
I can't see. I'm in the dark, and the sky's gone.
We're going to be stuck here, and we're going to starve.
I think if we.
I can't move my wings. I'm stuck. My wings are gone.
Won't even want us, and when some poor traveler finds our bodies, my mane will be bleached white. They'll look at my sweater and think this pony didn't know how to color coordinate at all, and then
Cut it out! All y'all, calm down right now.
Applejack used the sharp voice she used with cattle and pigs. It shut Rarity up, and at least made Dash more quiet. Applejack glared at the white unicorn.
We ain't dead yet. I'd much appreciate it if you stopped panicking and started thinking rational.
Rarity took several deep breaths, blushing fiercely.
I'm sorry, Applejack. I don't know what came over me.
Just so you keep your head on your shoulders. Last thing we need is to overreact to a manageable problem. As for you, Rainbow, I expect... Rainbow?
Rainbow Dash had stopped screaming, but appeared no calmer. Her pupils had shrunk to dots, and she had curled up in the snow, where she lay shivering, unblinking.
I can't see. I can't move. I can't see. I can't move. I can't move.
She whispered again and again, occasionally darting glances at her white surroundings. Applejack scooted closer to the Pegasus.
Rainbow? Rainbow, are you all right?
I can't see. I can't move. I can't see. I can't move. I can't see. I can't move. I can't see.
Applejack shuffled through the snow until she was right next to the trembling Rainbow Dash. She sat with her legs beneath her and leaned against Dash's sky blue body, pushing her head gently against Dash's head.
It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay.
The Earth Pony could feel her friend's jagged breathing, so she kept her own breathing steady and even, soothing her like she did with Apple Bloom when she had a nightmare.
It's okay. It's okay. It's okay.
Rarity slowly scooted over to join them, leaning against Rainbow Dash on her other side. She spoke no words but began to hum a gentle tune, the music of a lullaby she often sang to Sweetie Belle. She nuzzled Dash softly as she hummed, planting a brief kiss behind her ear.
It's okay. It's okay. It's okay.
Slowly, inch by inch, Dash's breathing returned to normal. Her eyes grew back to their healthy size, and her shivering slowly abated. Her rose-colored eyes slid closed, and she breathed out a long, shaking sigh.
Thank you.
She didn't want her friends to see her cry, but she had a very hard time keeping the tears out of her eyes. She sniffled and scooted away from Rarity and Applejack, wiping her eyes with her hoof.
Sorry about that.
Applejack smiled warmly at her.
It ain't no big thing, Sugar Cube. You never told me you were claustrophobic.
I'm not. I just don't like being able to not see the sky. When I can't, I get nervous.
Applejack scooted back over to where her flashlight lay in the snow. She picked it up and planted it on its base in the snow in the middle of the clear space, lighting up the snow cave around them. She looked up at the ceiling close over their heads.
You know, I reckon we should stay here tonight.
Under the snow.
Snow's a good insulator. You never mind it falling on the ground during wintertime at the farm. Keeps the heat in from the ground. And down here, we're out of the wind. We can stay the night under here, and hopefully the blizzard will have blown over by morning.
Won't we run out of air down here?
Not if we dig some more room, and if we give ourselves just a bit of a hole.
She poked the roof of the snow cave with her flashlight, causing a small chunk of it to collapse. A few stray flakes from the blizzard flew inside.
I suppose it's the best we can do, in lieu of finding another cave. And I'm not terribly inclined to trust caves right now.
It's a little cramped, you know.
Rarity, can you dig down a little bit with your magic? I reckon there's a few feet of snow between us and the ground.
Nodding, Rarity's horn shimmered, and snow began to fly away from the middle of the small space. It pulled away from the bottom of the snow cave and revealed yet more snow, which in turn flew away, piling back against the circular opening created by Rarity's magic. About 4 feet down, black rock finally emerged. Applejack's flashlight clattered as she dropped it down. The orange earth pony leapt into the hollow, followed shortly by the sky blue Pegasus and the white unicorn. Reaching into her saddlebags, Applejack pulled out one of her blankets and spread it across the rock. She then pulled out another blanket and spread it down on top of the first.
Birdie, you brought a blanket, right? Bring it out here.
Rarity took a moment to unzip her coat with magic, pulling it off and sliding her front legs out of the sleeves. She reached into her saddlebag and pulled out a velveted black blanket that shimmered slightly in the light of Applejack's flashlight. Applejack gave the blanket an annoyed look. Always has to be fancy with that one, she thought. Still, it would serve. She took it up in her mouth and laid it on top of the second blanket.
Now we just bunch up together and roll up. The three of us together with these blankets should make enough heat to keep warm.
We can gather up in my coat, too. It's quite warm.
Sure. I'm tired, girls. I'm tired and I've been out in the wind. Do you mind if we go to bed?
That's the most sensible thing you've said in hours.
They laid Rarity's coat out on top of her blanket on the far right side, and the three ponies snuggled close together in the lamb's wool lining.
On the count of 3, roll left. 1, 2, 3!
They rolled left and they moved left, wrapping themselves in 3 layers of blankets as they did. When they reached the end, they were cocooned, and the biting cold of the snowy world outside was a distant memory.
Don't forget to leave enough opening to breathe, darling.
There's air coming in from up here. Whew! I'm feeling more beat by the moment. Good night, every pony.
Good night.
Good night, girls.
Rainbow Dash was in between Rarity and Applejack, and the 2 ponies were surprised when she stretched out her wings over both of them.
Thank you again.
With smiles on their faces, Rarity and Applejack scooted closer to Rainbow Dash. It is difficult to gauge one's tiredness after a long and difficult day until one comes to the end of it. Having endured much hardship and at least one brush with death, the 3 ponies now found they were utterly exhausted, and so slipped quickly into dreamless slumber. Chapter 7. A gentle mouth sucked daintily on Rarity's horn. Stirred from full sleep into a half-daze, the unicorn found the sensation was not altogether unpleasant.
Oh, my.
She snuggled deeper into the lamb's wool of her coat and the down of her black blanket.
Why, Commodore Silverhood, you're so forward. It's only our first day.
Rainbow Dash, half conscious herself, obliged the day's Rarity by wrapping her tongue around her horn. Rarity murmured and moaned until she slowly came awake, at which point she realized that no pony was taking her on a fancy date, or its racy aftermath, but something was sucking on her horn.
Ah!
A burst of magic flared off her horn. It bounced Dash's head back, bringing her fully awake and causing her to flutter her wings rapidly.
What? Huh?
Huh?
Applejack shook herself awake. She yawned and tried to stretch, but in the cramped confines of the wrapped layers, she didn't have much room.
Is it morning?
I don't know. I just woke up.
Well, I'm awake too, and that means it's morning enough. Rainbow, how you doing?
My wings are a little cramped, but I've been worse.
All right. I think it's time we rolled out of this bundle. I recall us going left last night, so let's go right this time. Every pony ready?
Ready?
Ready.
1, 2, 3!
And on the count of 3, they shoved themselves to the right and kept the momentum going. The dark cocoon around them gradually got thinner as they tumbled. More of the cold air began to seep in. Finally, they were freed from the last layer, Rarity's coat, and the 3 ponies tumbled out onto the damp, dark rock. Looking around, their eyes adjusted quickly to the blackness, and they noted that there were still walls of snow wherever they looked.
I hoped it stopped snowing.
Rainbow Dash looked straight up. The tunnel they had dug down still led up to the roof of their snowy enclosure. From the air hole high above, she thought she saw an orange light.
Only one way to find out.
With a smile, she gave her wings a sequence of rapid flaps. She crouched back on her haunches, gathered her strength, and shot up, a brilliant flash of rainbow trailing in her wake. She was at the roof of the snow cave in less than a second, and burst through it in a shower of slush. Orange light poured down into the darkness, throwing up shadows across the two land-bound ponies.
Well, at least the blizzard appears to be out.
Applejack wrapped her scarf back around her neck and began to fold up the first of her two blankets.
That filly is always leaping before she looks. One of these days, it's going to get her into trouble.
Are you forgetting all the times it already has?
The pony they were speaking about suddenly burst back down through the hole, making it bigger and letting more light in. There was pure joy in her face.
The storm's all gone. The sky's clear.
Glad to hear it, Sugar Cube.
She took a moment to stuff her... Excuse me. She took a moment to stuff her first blanket in her saddlebags, and to look around at the sheer snow tunnel Rarity had dug.
I don't suppose you mind taking Rarity and me out of here.
No problem. Now, let's hurry up. Let's go. I want to get out of this gloomy place.
Applejack and Rarity packed up the rest of their belongings in short order, Rarity slipping her coat over her saddlebags once they were snug against her flanks. Taking the unicorn under her front legs, Rainbow Dash flew straight up, emerging from the snow into the brilliant orange light of dawn. As Dash had said, the storm had completely blown over, and the sky was blazing orange and pink in the early morning light. Only a few faint streaks of white cloud mottled the sky overhead. Rarity had to admit that after the gloom of the previous night, it was beautiful to see. It was only slightly marred when she felt her stomach growl.
We really didn't eat anything last night, did we?
Reaching back under her coat, she used her magic to flip open her left saddlebag and extract the contents until she found what she sought. Her 3 granola bars, wrapped in shiny foil. By the time Applejack had joined her atop the snow, the unicorn was already chewing at one of them, and gladly offered the other 2 to her friends.
I guess this'll tide us over till we get down from the mountains.
Dash was gobbling her bar up at breakneck speed.
Let's hurry. I'm sick of all this snow.
Naturally, she finished eating first. Careful to stow their wrappers in Rarity's saddlebags, the 3 ponies set out again. Without the blizzard blinding them, they could clearly see the end of the mountain valley they had entered, a wide pass between 2 sheer cliffs. Trotting across the snow, they reached it within half an hour, and they found the path cut sharply to the right. They rounded the bend.
Wow.
Oh.
Let it be noted that Crazy Matt Captain did not say the line.
I didn't read forehead, so I didn't notice it.
All right. The 3 ponies had left the bowels of the mountains, and the dramatic turn in their path, combined with the steep drop of the rock around them, along with the complete clearing of yesterday's cloud cover, permitted them to see a long, long panorama of the world below them. It was golden. Lit to glistening flame by the brilliance of the rising sun, they beheld what seemed to be endless fields of gold, rolling and shimmering in breezes like water upon the sea. The fields stretched into the distance, spreading out in front of them and to either side, farther than they could fathom. The further west they looked, the more of the field was shadowed, but as each second passed, the sun rose higher and higher, spreading more of its radiance across their sight and bathing more of the field in glinting flame. Open country. Applejack's heart sang at the sight of it.
So that's...
That's Gildedale. And out that way...
She pointed with her hoof straight ahead into the sky. Rarity and Applejack followed her direction and looked ahead, raising their gaze from the fields of gold. The further forward they looked, the more the world was shrouded in the purple-blue haze of distance. But at the edge of their sight, sharp masses of shadows were clearly visible.
Are those the Archbat Mountains?
They sure are, from what I've seen. Gilladale goes lengthwise between the Arcbacks and the Dragon Ridge Mountains. We're gonna go across its width, so it won't be a long journey.
Well, what are we waiting for? Come on, you ollygaggers. We got a lot of mountain to get down.
She launched herself down the steeply sloping path, sure-footed but with the most rapid of paces she could manage.
Yeah, hi-yo, AJ.
Dash flapped her wings rapidly and surged to catch up with her.
Wait for me.
Rarity tried her best to keep up amid the slushy snow and irregular rocks. The three ponies spent the next few hours following the trail through several more bends and turns, always downhill, sometimes through more alpine valleys, other times through straight down along the sides of the mountains. As they descended, the air grew warmer, and the snow grew more and more molten. By mid-morning, they were splashing through puddles, and Applejack and Rarity had to stop to remove their vest and coat, respectively. The wind was much gentler now. Applejack was even able to undo the tightening cord on her hat. Finally, shortly after noon, Applejack took her last step on hard rock. Her next step was on soft, silty dirt. Even this close to the mountains, grass sprang up to meet her, still glistening golden yellow. It hadn't lost any of its luster as the sun had risen higher and grown whiter. The earth pony was ecstatic to be on level ground amid growing plants again. Tossing off her hat and slipping off her borrowed sweater, she threw herself into the tall grass and rolled back and forth, laughing with delight at the soft carpet of growth and the smell of bountiful country. Using magic to remove her pink sweater, Rarity could only shake her head at the frolicking orange pony. She certainly wasn't going to be rolling in the grass. Still, she had to admit it was nice to be in warm air and on flat country again. She took a deep breath. The air was free and wild. It actually perked up her spirits to inhale, as though the very air of this new country of Gildedale beckoned her to adventure.
Well, I do believe I'm in the mood to run.
Rainbow Dash grinned down at her. She gave the thought some consideration, and the Pegasus abruptly tucked in her wings and dropped to the ground, her sky-blue legs bending as she landed.
You know, I feel like running too. And since I'm already having to hang back for you walking ponies, I won't be losing any time if I do.
Rising to her legs, Applejack gave her friends a smile.
You ain't afraid of getting beat again, are you?
Nope, because I've never been beaten. Especially not by you.
Oh, for Celestia's sake, don't turn this into a race, please.
Rarity used her magic to take out both of her sweaters and fold them. Stuffing them back into her saddlebags, the white unicorn then removed a light blue linen scarf and wrapped it around her neck.
I have enough trouble keeping up with you two without you trying to outrun each other.
Well, sister, you should have packed a little lighter. Of course, you're going to have trouble with all that stuff in your bags. What do you say, Rainbow? First one to stop for lunch loses?
Dash dug into the ground with her front hoof.
Sounds good to me. On your mark.
Get set. Hey!
Applejack cried as the Pegasus pony broke into a gallop, vaulting ahead of her in a blur of blue.
You lousy cheater! Get back here.
You snooze, you lose, AJ.
Growling, Applejack started running, bearing down on Rainbow Dash with all the strength her legs could manage.
And what if I'm the one who gets hungry? I know how you two get. You'll starve before either of you... Hey, come back! Not so fast!
She broke into a run of her own to keep up. The three ponies thundered across the endless plains, their swift track cutting ephemeral slashes in the paths of the tall golden grass. They climbed up and down shallow hills, splashed through small streams, leapt ditches and levees. The sun beat down high overhead, and it was warm on the flat, open landscape. Even Applejack was sweating after a while, yet they kept their furious pace until Rarity finally coughed out.
Stop.
How long had they been running? Applejack and Rainbow Dash skidded to a halt, breathing hard. A light breeze was blowing, but it had not been enough to cool them. Rarity dragged herself towards the two faster ponies, her coat and mane slick with sweat.
Stop. I can't go on.
Her legs were killing her, her muscles aching with the strain of the endless gallop. She had barely made it to her friends when she keeled over, flopping in the grass with her legs sprawled in every direction. She rolled her head around and glanced upside down at Dash and Applejack, who were staring at her. The sky blue Pegasus grinned.
Can't keep up, Rares?
Don't call me that.
Her stomach let out a loud growl.
I'm exhausted and starving. You ponies are ridiculous. How can you not be hungry? Lunchtime was an hour ago.
I suppose it would be good to stop for a bit.
A growl suddenly rippled out from her stomach. She bent at the knees.
Ugh, stars and garters, I'm hungry. I must have just lost track of my appetite.
She angled her head down slightly, aiming her mouth at a clump of tall grass. She didn't have to stretch very far as it grew almost level with her chin. She ripped up a chunk and began to chew vigorously. It was hearty and strong-flavored, more so than what she was used to. Rising to her feet, Rarity bit off a mouthful of grass.
It's a bit coarse, isn't it?
A lot of fiber in this stuff. It's good for the plumbing.
Applejack noticed Dash wolfing down grass, hovering over swaying blades to nip the most tender tips. She was like a whole herd of sheep, grazing at everything in her path. It bothered her to see her friends suddenly so ravenous. The Pegasus hadn't been extraordinarily hungry over the past few days.
Unless she has been and just hadn't been showing it. Rainbow, are you getting enough to eat? I know it was pretty slim pickings up in the mountains.
Applejack, I'm fine. I'm just hungry.
I know you Pegasi have real fast metabolisms, so if you need to spend a bit more time eating when we stop, that's all right.
Don't worry about me, Applejack. I'm telling you, I eat as much as hungry for what I'm for. If you walking ponies need to get going and keep a good time, you're fine too. I can catch up in a jiffy.
Well, that's awful considerate of you, I suppose, but I happen to believe in courtesy, so as long as you're stopped for lunch, we'll be too.
Besides, it would just be rude to leave you anyway.
The sky blue Pegasus smiled mischievously.
So, it bothers you that much that I'm so much faster than you?
Honestly, Rainbow, do you ever stop competing?
If you start slowing down, you start getting old. So I always try to go faster.
Now, I don't hold to that. It seems to me that some things you you have to take your sweet time doing. If you're always in a rush, you can't enjoy the gentle things in life.
Thank you.
Rarity swallowed her bite of grass, raised her head, and looked around a little.
And I must say, I would not want to live in this place. As lovely as it certainly is, it's your kind of country, Rainbow Dash, not mine.
Rainbow Dash snapped her head around.
That was random. What brought that on?
The white unicorn angled her head up, looking across the horizon.
I'm just thinking. Haven't you ponies noticed something about this land, or rather, the absence of something?
Rainbow Dash and Applejack joined her in looking around. They could see nothing but rolling golden fields wherever they looked. Applejack noticed it first.
Not much in the way of buildings.
Precisely. We've seen no development of any kind. No houses, no farms, not even bridges over some of the rivers. Gilderdale may have unspoiled beauty, but it's as if nothing civilized even lives here. Indeed, it makes me wonder what these free-roaming ponies are like. Do they even have culture? Can they even speak?
Just because they haven't built a bunch of stuff doesn't mean they're stupid. I like everything that's open and free. It's like the sky, only it's land, and no pony is restricted by any fences or barriers.
Even the sky has clouds, Dale, Rainbow Dash.
You just don't understand. You don't understand what it's like to be free.
Rarity huffed a breath from her nostrils.
I understand freedom perfectly well, madam, and I'll think you not to slander me to the contrary. But there is some freedom that can only come by giving up other freedom.
That makes no sense. If you give up freedoms, you're less free. It's as simple as that.
There is freedom to, and there is freedom from. In Equestria, we don't have the freedom to do everything we like. We don't have the freedom to murder ponies, for example. But as a result of that, we have the freedom from fear of being randomly killed. It's the same thing for all civilized society. The ponies in Gilderdale may have great freedom of action, but they also must be saddled with a great deal of worries and cares that we equestrians do not have, because we've given up some of our freedom to act.
That's not a fair example at all. Being safe isn't about there being laws against murdering. It's about the ponies not being jerks to each other. And if you have that, you don't need to restrict any pony's freedoms.
The white unicorn shook her head.
The world is always going to have jerks, darling. I wish it didn't, but it does. And so we must take that into account when we decide what actions our society forbids.
Are you saying you'd like to live in a country where you have to have permissions to do anything? Where you can't do anything without being told? I can't believe what I'm hearing.
I'm saying that it's a trade-off. I wouldn't like to live anywhere where I was told everything I could do. Neither would I like to live somewhere where I could do whatever I wanted. It's about striking a proper balance.
Dash shook her head.
It's a slippery slope. What if we didn't have Princess Celestia as a ruler? What if our ruler was bad? What if our ruler used every excuse to take away freedoms? I'd rather live someplace without any restrictions.
And if I had to choose between only those two, so would I. But the point is, you're not supposed to choose between those two. You're supposed to find a nice middle ground.
Rainbow Dash and Rarity locked eyes with an intensity that thoroughly surprised Applejack. She had never known the Pegasus to be so passionate about something as abstract as personal liberty, and she had never suspected the unicorn had given so much thought to that same subject. She almost wished she could let them keep arguing, not because she wanted to see her friends fight, but because she wanted to learn more about how they thought. But the sun had begun to take on hints of orange, and Twilight Sparkle was still in need.
Pardon me, y'all, but we are burning daylight, and I reckon it's time we get going again.
Rarity was the first to blink.
Yes, I suppose you're right, Applejack. Rainbow Dash, please don't mistake me. I love the freedom that comes from acting as you please. But I know that if every pony were allowed to do as they wished, there would be chaos.
Dash's face was stern, but slowly it changed, growing softer and softer, and finally she smiled softly at Rarity.
You know what? You're right. Or, I guess you're right, but I don't know how you can go about setting those limits. I wouldn't want to restrict any pony. I guess that's why I'm not a princess.
On the other hoof, perhaps I'm misjudging these ponies of Gilderdale. We haven't even met any of them yet. Perhaps they have their own social order that works for them. I'm willing to give them the benefit of the doubt.
Dash smiled.
That's really big of you, Rarity. And I guess it's a little dumb of me to talk about the total freedom when I live in Equestria, which does have laws, and laws that help keep us safe. Maybe it is all about balance.
And, speaking of balance, perhaps for the rest of the day we could balance our pace a bit. We did go so quickly this afternoon. I had hoped that...
She smiled hopefully at Applejack. The orange earth pony nodded.
We can slow down a mite. Just a mite, though. We wasted some time in the mountains, and now that we're on easy terrain, I'd like us to make up as much time as we can. We don't know how far Guilddale goes on till we hit the next landscape, And there's no telling what that'll be.
Oh, fine.
Rainbow Dash laughed and nudged her in the side.
We'll go a little slower this time, Rares.
All right, y'all. Let's move them out.
The three ponies resumed their gallop. Dash and Applejack slackened their pace just a bit, though Rarity tried harder than ever to match them. The discussion between her friends lingered in the back of Applejack's mind through the rest of the afternoon and into the evening. She took the time to look around her as she galloped, and sure enough, she could see nothing on the horizon that indicated any kind of settled population.
How do they get their food? Do they just eat grass? Do they sleep in the open air? Do their foals go to school? Do they even have school?
The more she thought about it, the more she didn't like it. Ponies weren't meant to live like animals with no guarantee of food or shelter. Rarity was right. Some freedom had to be given up so that a pony could grow up safe and realize their full potential. A pony needed more than raw freedom. They needed education, friends, art, culture. There had to be more to life than just bare survival. That was why she was adamant that Apple Bloom went to school all year round, even during planting season. Granny Smith had always insisted that a pony didn't need book learning to be successful, but Applejack knew that there was more to education than just financial security. Big Macintosh had missed some school in his younger years, and he had always regretted it. It was why he loved to learn so much nowadays. Education made a pony more than just a worker or a creature. Applejack's mother had always told her that, and the Orange Earth pony had never forgotten it. She was interrupted from her thoughts by the sight of something black standing up from the plains on her left.
Hey, y'all seeing what I'm seeing over there?
It's definitely there.
Rainbow Dash flapped her wings and spun into the air.
Let's go check it out.
She flew towards it in a streak of rainbow before either of her friends could stop her. Shaking her head, Applejack turned towards the dark thing, Rarity hot on her heels. When the two ponies arrived, Dash was sitting at the base of the black shape. It was a tall stone slab, its sides rough but straight, its peak coming to a point. It was carved all over with letters, and unlike the strange symbols around the treacherous cave in the mountains, this writing was easily readable.
Huh, the language is quite like equestrian, isn't it?
Uh-huh. I mean, some of the words are weird, but it's totally understandable. If this is the language that they use in Gildedale, we should be able to understand any ponies we come across.
Unless the slab is ancient, perhaps their language has changed with time. Maybe long ago they spoke equestrian, but nowadays they don't.
This is almost exactly like our language. And I know Twilight mentioned that old equestrian was different from modern equestrian. Unless their old stuff is a lot like our new stuff, I reckon this is modern, or at least not too old.
The slab had East written in 4 large letters down the front of it. Below these, in smaller horizontal script, was written, "This is the land of Gildedale, the golden field between the mountains, claimed by the line of the Dale Lords and their kin. Friends should take heart. Enemies should take heed. In the name of Lord Broadwithers, Lord of the Dale, in the year blank."
What did I tell you right from the start? Enemies should take heed. These ponies don't mess around.
Well, let's hope that first part is true too. Twilight's book mentioned they didn't like strangers.
There's no mention of equestrian.
Well, I ain't never seen a mention of Gildedale back home. It's just over the mountains from Ponyville. Maybe both countries just don't mingle much.
What do you think that is up top?
Dash pointed with her hoof towards the peak of the slab. Set into the black stone was a spreading symbol. It looked like curved lines of gold, splayed out at top and bottom and curving inward in the middle, where they were pulled together by a band of some reddish stone.
Is that the symbol of Gildedale?
Looks like it's hay or grass, I suppose. It's probably grass. That would make the most sense.
The golden field between the mountains.
It was so wild sounding. She could practically hear the drums pounding and horns blowing. Rarity had always grown up in civilization, admittedly, not in the glamour and bustle of Canterlot or Manhattan, but at least where the streets were smooth and the garbage was picked up twice a week.
Applejack talks about. Sorry. Applejack talks about never leaving her farm, but I'm not much better. I haven't been a great traveler. Now here I am, in this strange and wild place.
The wind whipped at her mane, billowing her scarf around her neck. She looked past the stone slab, deep into the west. The sun was setting now, burning orange, throwing down a long, dark shadow from the stone. She stepped around the slab and stared at the expanse of open field before her. Once again it was gleaming, burning, shimmering gold-orange, like molten metal that rippled in the heat and sent up sparks. The sun, descending towards the distant Archback Mountains, was a blazing orb of orange, turning the sky its same color.
But the sun comes first. Comes from.
Her gaze traveled back to the east, towards the Drakenridge Mountains. They were now far off, but still closer and darker than the Archbacks. Behind those mountains was Equestria, where Princess Celestia was patiently watching the same sunset, preparing to give the great heavenly body she ruled its final nudge over the horizon, to retire the day and prepare for her sister's night.
It's the same sun.
Come again?
Rarity looked at her with an expression of gentle wonder.
The sun that's setting here, it's the same as in Equestria. It's the same everywhere, right? Princess Celestia is setting the sun in Canterlot, but it's also setting here, and she makes it set here, doesn't she?
Applejack blinked at her.
Well, I guess that makes sense. Huh. That's true, ain't it?
She turned towards the sunset. Her orange coat glistened even brighter in the gleaming long rays.
I mean, there ain't more than one sun.
They stood still, the quiet broken only by the wind whipping over the fields. Even Dash couldn't make herself move as she squinted her rose eyes at the setting sun.
Do you think she can see us?
I don't know about that, but I suppose in a sense she's here, wherever the sunlight touches.
She was suddenly, deeply moved. Lowering herself on her front hooves, she bowed low to the setting sun. Rainbow Dash almost said something beside her, but her words died on her lips. A few moments later, she too bowed, averting her eyes and folding her wings. On Rarity's other side, Applejack gave her friends a stern look, but her head flitted from them to the sun and back again, and finally she came into line beside Rarity and joined her in her bow. They remained like that for some unknown quantity of time, not too long, but not too short. Applejack raised herself first.
The princess wouldn't want us to waste too much time. I mean, we are trying to help her star pupil get better.
Her friends rose back to their hooves at this, and they set off again in silence, leaving the great stone marker behind. They galloped as the sun turned from orange to red, drenching the world in crimson. The sky grew pink overhead, then red, and finally violet. Behind them, the moon was rising, silver-white, distant, and demure like Princess Luna, who ruled it. Dusk settled over the landscape, and one by one the stars appeared overhead. Several hours later, well into the night, Applejack slowed her pace.
Ooh, I'm getting tired. Don't look like we'll be finding any shelter tonight, so I reckon we should just make camp out here in the open.
That sounds like a marvelous idea, darling.
The white unicorn was completely exhausted. They stopped under the ridge of a small hill, and Rarity had barely laid down before she was asleep, breathing gently in a burrow of tall grass.
Not even waiting for dinner. That is a worn out pony.
I gotta say, she kept pace a lot better than I thought she would.
She worked real hard.
The orange earth pony began to pull up bunches of grass.
Rainbow, help me find the thicker stuff. It'll burn better.
We're making a fire?
I don't want varmints sneaking up on us in the night. Most varmints don't like fire.
She began to pile the grass into a clearing she was making from pulling it up. She soon had a large pile of grass gathered in a bare patch of dirt. She removed a log and a thin stick from her saddlebags and set the log in the middle of the grass. She stuck the thin stick into the middle of the log and began to spin it rapidly between her hooves, boring the pointed end of the stick into the wood and creating intense friction. In little time, the wood was smoking, and Applejack quickly piled grass onto the kindled flame. Soon, a fire was crackling, the faint woody scent of burning grass pervading the air around them.
This fire won't burn for long, but it should do enough to keep us safe. I can probably wake up a little later tonight and start it again.
Rainbow Dash was busy gobbling down grass. She didn't want to admit it to Applejack, but she was very hungry, and she had been hungry all through the mountains.
I don't want her to try and look after me. We gotta spend enough time babying Rarity.
Dash spared a glance at the sleeping unicorn, curled up like a cat in the grass. The sky blue Pegasus smiled. In truth, her heart had been deeply touched by Rarity today. Hearing her talk about freedom and responsibility had awed Dash. Where on earth had Rarity been hiding those thoughts? What corner of her fashion-obsessed brain had she tucked that philosophy into?
She said that if she had to choose, she would choose freedom. That makes her okay in my book.
Bit for your thoughts?
Just thinking about Rarity.
Aww.
It's not that. It's just that she and I have never really hung out.
Trotting over to the fire, she laid down and looked into the flames.
I didn't even know who she was until Twilight brought us all together. Now we're all on this journey. I mostly told myself I wouldn't let her because I know how guilty she felt, but she's okay.
Rarity's a good girl. Once she get past her fussy side, she's real sweet.
Dash smiled.
The only time we really spent around each other was when she was making my dress for the Grand Galloping Gala, and I was being a jerk. But she kept doing it, and doing whatever I told her, even guessing what I wanted when I didn't say I wanted anything.
Yeah, we caused her a lot of trouble. She didn't complain one bit. That's sort of the way Rarity works. You'll hear her whine about a lot, but if you pay attention, it's all the little things. Her mane, her clothes, what ponies are thinking about. The big stuff, she never complains about it, not until it gets real bad. She just keeps moaning about the little things, until the big things ain't such a big deal in your mind.
So it's some sort of coping strategy? Like she plans it out?
I'm not sure if I'd call it plan.
A rolling, moaning howl rippled across the plains, breaking out goosebumps on the two ponies. A chill ran down their spines. Rarity remained asleep.
What in the name of Equestria was that?
It sounded like it was pretty far off.
If we can hear it, it ain't far off enough. Rainbow, go up and take a peek.
Nodding, Dash launched herself into the sky, shooting up 100 feet in a second. She hovered in the air, spinning around, scanning the horizon. The light from their fire was meager and lonely amid the vast moonlit darkness of the plains. She couldn't see anything moving, and there was a fair amount of moonlight, so she didn't think she was missing anything.
I don't see anything.
Keep looking for a bit. I want to make sure there's nothing coming our way.
Dash scanned the horizon again. Nothing towards the archbacks. Nothing to her left. Nothing to her right. She turned back towards the Drakenridge. Then she saw it. A streak of blinding white light shot down the side of the mountains far to the right, going from the peaks to the bottom in an eye blink. It hit the plains and kept going, a blast of blinding white light in a fairly jagged line. Streaked clear across her line of sight in another blink of her eye, and then it was gone.
Rainbow? You say anything?
Dash shook herself back to responsiveness. She gently hovered back to the ground.
Nothing.
Well, I'm gonna put some more grass on the fire. A wild critter will think twice before coming near us. Then I'm gonna turn in.
Yeah, me too. Good night, AJ.
Night, Rainbow.
Applejack got up and walked into the tall grass. Dash curled up and laid down her head. The grass acted as natural bedding. It was actually quite peaceful. But she wasn't feeling peaceful. Her mind was racing, crackling with the images seared across it, with the memory of what she had seen. That streak, that blast of light. It was just like lightning. But what did that mean? Lightning on the ground. The day's exertions had left her too tired to stay awake for long, so Rainbow Dash fell asleep after a short while. And for the second time in 3 days, her dreams were filled with lightning and thunder and the blue tail she couldn't catch.
And then they all erupted in a gigantic balefire explosion.
Ominous.
Very.
And then everybody died. Ow.
Oh, come on. It wasn't that bad.
It resonates pretty bad in headphones.
Yeah.
Well, why do you
Yeah.
people wear headphones?
So that you don't hear the speakers echoing.
Yeah,
Exactly.
somebody's speakers was echoing quite a bit.
That was not
Probably
mine because I
Wesley's.
heard it.
Yeah.
I said that was not
Yeah.
mine because I heard the echo too. And
I mean, I don't have your kind of setup, so I can't not have headphones.
I just hate wearing headphones because they hurt my ears.
Mhm.
I mean,
Yeah.
Also, the only headphones that I have make it so I can't hear anything else that's going on around me. In which case, people have almost gotten the wind
Unlived.
knocked out of them. Yes.
Have you ever tried open back headphones like what I have?
Those are expensive.
Not really. Not some of them.
I mean, for ones that I would actually consider worthy of putting on my head, they are. Actually, I do technically have a pair, but I kind of donated them to the church. So, because those are my K240s.
well, Jesus appreciates it.
I mostly appreciate it because now I don't have to use those shitty ass cost ones that only have like half of a working speaker in them. And yes, a half working driver is a thing apparently.
Also, can I point out that Rainbow Dash's extreme VTOL?
What?
She went up 100. She went up 100 feet in 1 second. Just
Yeah, I mean, I mean, it's just a teaser for what I'm going to be seeing this weekend, I guess.
oh, is there an air show in North Platte?
Not in North Platte, but in Wayne, Nebraska. They're doing a stole drag competition.
Oh,
A stool drag. What?
Stole.
yeah. It's when you like when you poop, but like it doesn't. You don't get all of it out, and like it's kind of hanging a little bit.
I see. So Winchester's gonna be the master of the poop train. Okay.
Oh dear God.
Yeah, it's a stool drag.
No, it's when you go to a bar and you just take their stools and you drag it for as long as you can before the before the bouncer goes and beats the piss out of you with the stool.
Is that what you were practicing in my apartment?
Yes.
Hmm.
Sounds like
What
you
is
should
this
beat him up
awful
faster.
picture you posted?
It's an America garter. It's freedom that holds up your stockings.
It's a freedom stocking. Pull it out, you find a 1911.
Oh my
I'm moving.
God. America! Fuck yeah! Doing what it takes to save the motherfucking day, yeah.
What have I
Alrighty.
gotten myself involved with?
You don't want to know.
Yeah.
Getting copyright strikes just because of those few lines that Winchester just said.
Probably.
Didn't I apologize to Sora when I brought her here?
Yes.
Seems to me like somebody owes Razzle an apology.
It's no worse than what we get into during D&D nights. Oh. So yes. So anyways, I hope you all had fun. Skyrace has now joined us, and I'm sure he has some sort of idea what he's going to be doing for the after party. So that will be a good time.
Sure, yeah, I know exactly what I'm gonna do.
Planning.
He's just
Yeah,
so good at
we do
pre-planning out his stuff. If there's anybody I can trust to have it all pre-planned, it's him. And if he didn't, he breaks all of my trust forever, and I will never trust him with anything again, even like holding my marshmallow.
Wait, did Skyrace hold your marshmallow?
No. Great weather we have today. Don't.
I need an
It's so
adult.
cute.
Oh my
Do
God.
I want to
Wait.
know the context?
Did you hold the stick up to his mouth while he slowly ate the marshmallow off of it?
It was very melty, so I just dribbled it on his face.
Okay, we went too far out of the realm. So anyways, we're going to go into shout outs now. So we'll start with shout outs for Sora.
Shout out to Duolingo to remind me to do my Japanese every day.
Konnichiwa.
Alrighty. And next shout outs for Razzle.
Shout out to Sora for reminding me I gotta get on Duolingo so I can do my Scottish for the day.
Alrighty, and we'll just continue this Duolingo train with Forest Rain.
Yeah, I'd like to thank Sora for reminding me to do Duolingo for my German. Also to Creative Garters on Etsy, etsy.com/shop/Creative Garters, where you can get a gaudy ass American flag garter thing that looks like it came off the Super Dave Osborne show, as well as some stuff that actually looks really, really nice.
Alrighty.
I don't think that's really going to hit with the demographic though, because bronies.
Yeah. Alrighty. And CMC shoutouts.
Fires, explosions, Mufasa, venison jerky, LOE, Roan. And Midair Pony Fair is this weekend. Cole and I and a couple others are doing the trivia panel at approximately midnight Pacific. So ungodly late. It's like 3 a.m. or Eastern. It's gonna be crazy. Come join the fun.
Yes. It shall be fun. So yes, make sure to come back and join us next week for our Divinity stream. And then our next reading will be in 2 weeks. So yes. Please join in for that. It shall be fun. I hope you guys all had a good time. And yes, so on that final note, Everybody say goodbye.
Goodbye.
Bye, good.
My boss asked me, are you feeling quite alright? Looks like you didn't get much sleep last night. I try to smile, but I yawn right in his face. He lets me go, and now I'm heading for my place. Vision's blurring, my head is whirring. It's like I'm poisoned, but really I'm just tired, and I wanna go to bed. I can't take all these drowsy thoughts inside my head. I'm so tired, so please let me go in peace. Let me escape to a land of all my dreams. I try my best to drive my way back home, but every stoplight makes me feel like I really need to yawn. I finally let one go, and I missed the traffic light. A Nissan Versa T-bones me, and my car set for a flight. Body sprawled out, it's like I'm knocked out, but that's not true, because really I'm just tired, and I wanna go to bed. I can't take all these drowsy thoughts inside my head. I'm so tired, so please let me go in peace. Let me escape to a land of all my dreams. The ambulance comes and the medic checks my head. They take me to the hospital and pump me full of meds. I've injured my femur and my elbow looks bad too. They've got me bundled up, but I'm not feeling blue. Body's drugged up, I close my eyes up and finally get some rest, because I'm just tired and I wanna go to bed. I can't take all these drowsy thoughts inside my head. I'm so tired, so please let me go in peace. Let me escape to a land of all my dreams.
Thank y'all for showing up. It's been fun. This is Winchester 572 going 10-7. I'm out. Bye-bye.